Hello everybody, and a very warm welcome back to Tony Northeastern. And here we are over at Tyne Dock. We're just going to quickly look at the station building before we move on to South Shields station. The reason that we're over here is to look at the lead flashing and how I did the roof some possibly 3.5–4 years ago when I did this building. It was probably the first card kit that I built for the layout. As you can see, I use just a little bit of paper there. Painted it a light grey by the looks of it, and this roof was never scribed, so we've come on a long way since the first kit. But I did do a little bit of detailing in this station. If we can zoom in through the windows there's a guy there selling the tickets, and there is a little table in there somewhere. I'm sure I remember putting a table in there. And I did paint the rooms out, but I didn't put any detail in them. Right, so what we're going to do, we'll just move over to South Shields now and concentrate on the roof. And as you can see, I've made a good start over here on the station. I did try using the silver foil. I bought a roll especially for it, but what I found was when I was folding it up, it was sticking to my fingers and creasing. I had quite a few attempts at it, but it was just not working, so I decided to stick with the my tried and tested idea of using strips of paper, 3mm wide, folded, to get a crease into it, and then just stick it in place using some PVA wood glue and water. I'll show you how to apply that in a moment. And also, what I'd like to get done this week is to get the roof painted. It's been a long time. It's been a few weeks since the roof was put on, and I think painting of the roof and weathering the chimneys would finish this and then allow me to move on to the next stage, which would be great, because I'm itching to go onto the next stage, which is the ironwork that's going to support the canopy, which is going to go in this section here. Not the main roof, just the canopy in this area here. So let's crack on. Meanwhile, back at the bench, just cutting some strips of paper, 3mm wide. Before we go any further, this is a brilliant tool to have. It's a modeller's scale rule. It measures 4mm to the foot, and at the back we've got a conversion table here with all your drill sizes, tapping sizes and tolerances and everything. So this is a handy rule, and I bought this when I first started building the station. I used this for measuring my windows, my doors, everything like that, and then just putting another rule alongside it to get the millimeters, which is great. So that's a model maker's scale rule. You can pick them up on the famous website, you know what it is, or you can go to Expo Tools. They have them. But yeah, I really think if you build them from scratch, I suggest you get one of these. It comes in really handy. Right, so here we are, we're back at the station, and we've got our folded bits of paper. And what we're going to do, we're just going to do this little piece here. So what I've done, I've gone down as far as the guttering, and just to the other side of the tiles, the capping tiles on the roof. I've just marked it with a pencil, and what we'll do, we'll just cut that piece off. And I've got some PVA mixture here. It's about 60% PVA and 40% water, so it's quite creamy looking. It's a little bit stronger than what I use for ballasting. So we've got a lid flashing. I'll just check it against the roof, make sure it's going to fit in there. Yep. And we dip it in there and just quickly apply it. This is one of the easy ones to do, actually. Hopefully it should just stay there, which it does. And then you just maneuver it in place with a toothpick or something similar. And just try and get it 50-50 over the joint. The thing is, while it's wet, it's still maneuverable. And when you're happy with it, just get a dry cotton bud and just take off any of the excess glue, and it seems to come off quite easy. Just leaving that behind, and it's still not quite in the middle. It's about there now, and that's it. That's all there is to it. Obviously around the chimney is a little bit trickier because you've got a mitre for each corner. So with the chimneys, like I said before, you've got a mitre around the corners. So what I'm doing is I'm just marking the piece of paper for where the ridge tails are, and where that bottom corner is in there, I'll just mitre across, and then that takes care of the joint on the corner. So we'll cut that off. This is a tiny piece of paper. It's about 9mm long. So what I'll do then is just take the corner off at 45 degrees, and then just dip this in the solution. I don't know if you remember, but when I was filming for the running session, the nighttime scene, you could still see the lights coming through the chimney. So hopefully with this lid flashing in place, it will hide all that once it's painted as well. So as you can see, it's just little tiny bits of paper. And then when you're happy with it, just dry it off. I mean, if you try using quick glue, you don't get much time. At least while it's wet, you can move it around. And here we have the final piece. It's mitred at both ends. And another little tip is make sure you dry your tweezers every time in between putting pieces on, because the glue does tend to stay on, and eventually your little bits of paper will end up sticking to the tweezers. Right, so that's the chimney done. Meanwhile, back at the bench, I've been messing around, as you can see with the figures in front of you. And it's all because I had a message from Bang Got You Junction, Carl Brand. He sent me a message in the last video singing the song Chimney, and it's been stuck in my head. And I thought to myself, right, with all those chimney pots on the station, I could create a cameo scene. Hence why we've got some figures in front of you. Now, we all know the famous movie Mary Poppins. Yep, now you know where I'm going. Right, so we got the two school kids here. I can't remember their names. And they're both flying little kites. Now then, if we pick up the little laddie here, I'll be able to show you. If I go a little bit closer, but not too close, because you'll go to zoom. Now, how I did the string is just a piece of thread. What I did is I pulled the thread as tight as I could and then run some super glue along it. But to stop the super glue from creating bulge spots, I then put my fingers in a little drop of water and then ran it along the thread. Hence why the thread has gone as stiff as a board. Now the little kite on the end is just a little tiny piece of paper. So I've done two of them. One laddie, one girlie. Now then, Mary Poppins herself is, remember a while back I made some brollies. Well, I've made another brolly. And this time I've given it to this character here. She needs painting up yet, and a hat placed on her head. And what I'm going to do with this is I've studied some photographs of Mary Poppins so I know what colours to paint her. I'm leaving the wire attached because I can drill a hole in the chimney and put this into the hole so it looks like she's flying. But I'm going to disguise this copper wire somehow, maybe paint it sky blue or something like that. So that's where we are at the moment. Let's put it back. So, and here we have the other character, Bert. So what I'm going to do with this character is he's going to lose the flags. I'm going to gently peel them away so it's just his leg. And I'm going to drill a hole through his hand, and then I'm going to make up a chimney sweep brush and put it in his hand. That's what I'm going to do with him. And then you've got the other two characters. I can't remember his name now. Mr. and Mrs. Brown, is it? To Mary Poppins goes to visit. So they just need a little paint job. Got to give him a moustache, and I think I'll leave the lady as she is. So, coming back to Mary Poppins, what I've done is I've sliced the top of her head off a little bit so I can fit a hat on there, because Mary Poppins has a hat, and as it happens I've got one here. All I've done is I've stuck some 1mm card onto a piece of paper, but I've spread out the super glue so this piece of paper becomes quite hard. As you can see, that's all it is. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to try and cut out the card and leave a nice round rim with the paper, so I've got a nice edge there. So let's just see if I can tidy that up a little bit. Yep, I think that'll look about right. So it's that small, can't even pick it up. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put a little bit of super glue on the top of her head there and hopefully place the hat on top. Just let that go on there. It's going to have to do. It's stuck straight away. But if you look closely, she's now wearing a hat. So the next thing we have to do now is sort these legs out. They've got to be pointing east and west. So I'm going to have to cut them off and then glue them back on again. Right, as you can see, I've glued the legs back on with the toes pointing in opposite directions. That's the way she used to come onto the scene in the movie, so we'll leave it like that and let them dry because they're still a bit delicate, and then we'll concentrate on Bert. So with Bert, I removed the flags already, so the next phase is to make up Bert's chimney sweep brush, and for this I'm going to try using lots of thread, so this might take a while. So I'm going to put a little bit of super glue on there to start with, and then just rest the thread across there, wait till it goes off, and then cut it. And I've got to do this quite a few times if I want the bristles. Right, so as you can see, I've stuck lots of thread into little strips onto this copper wire just by super gluing them on. It looks like a chimney sweep brush, but it's on the large side at the moment. So I've got to trim the threads off. And then we'll see what it looks like afterwards. See if it needs more. Not quite 100% round. I like the way the threads have frayed up around the edges. And I've just given Mr. Brown his moustache by putting a very fine smidgen of paint on this toothpick. So it's really a feather edge, and I've just touched underneath his nose. So that's Mr. Brown done, nice and simple. Just giving him a moustache. So as you can see, I have started to paint Mary Poppins. I've given her her black jacket and frock. All I've got to do now is paint a little white flower in her hat and give her a red scarf and paint her shoes, and then she's done. Oh, and the brolly, of course. So meanwhile, back at the station, I've decided to make a start on the roof because there's a lot of roof to paint, and the flashing has dried a lot quicker than what I expected it to, so I thought, well, now's the time to make a start on the roof. As you can see, I'll zoom you in a minute, every single tile so far has shown up on the roof. I don't know if you can pick it up. Yeah, it looks like you can. So all those hours spent scribing away has paid off. So the paint I'm using is a satin 164 grey. I'm hoping that when it dries out it doesn't dry out as shiny as it looks at the moment. I want it to tone down just a little bit. Right, so that's the roofs painted. Just got to weather the rooftops now and the chimney breasts. I was thinking of touching in the lid flashing, but I think I might leave it as it is, or I might just add a very subtle hint of silver in there. But the next job to do when the paint's dry is to weather the roofs. Add some green streaks, green and black streaks, and the chimneys, and then it's finished, apart from the drain pipes and the guttering. Right, so I'm just going to start adding some silver paint to the lid flashing. All I'm doing is just highlighting it. I'm not going to go too mad because I don't want it to be really bright silver. So I'm just going to take some of it off with a cotton bud. Because I'm going to dirty the channels as well. Because the effect I'm looking for is just a hint that it is lead. Because let's face it, roofs are very, very dirty places back in this period. So I'm just taking it. It's a very, very subtle silver. Right, so now we're going to start dirtying up the chimneys. So basically what I'm doing, very little on the brush, around the top of the chimney and just on the edges. And obviously a little bit on the pot. And then we just keep wiping it off until you think you have the right texture. If it's too black, you just keep wiping and wiping. Eventually you'll get down to what you want. Right, and where you have a step in the brickwork, just here, just do the same. All the way around. That we've blackened up the chimneys, it's time to add just one more colour. It's a dark green, a slimy green. It's by AK Interactive. All I'm doing is just letting it settle there, just on the tops of the chimneys for a little bit, just let it soak in a little bit, and then take it off, but leave a little bit on there. Just adds that little bit of age to the chimney pots. Obviously you can take as little or as much off as you want. But there you go, that's the chimney pots done. Right, so now it's time to weather the roofs. I thought it'd be a lot easier if I just show you this at the bench. Basically black matte paint. Really get it into the grooves of the tiles. I'll do two sides at once. It's easier to, so you just really rub it in there. And what you do is, once you've done this, you get a bit of kitchen towel and then rub it in. Don't necessarily take it all off, just rub it into the grooves and just leave it for a minute or so. So all you're doing now is you're just really rubbing it into the tiles now. Obviously you are taking a little bit off, but the main thing you want to do is just rub it into the tiles. Right, so once that's done, get a brand new piece of kitchen towel, just fold it into a little bit of a square, and then just a tiny bit of thinners. You don't need much. If you think you got too much on, then dab it on a kitchen towel and get it off, because what you want to do now is just downstroke with the tiles. And look at the effect you're getting. All that paint has gone into the slate tiles. Obviously once that sides get clogged up, you've got the other side there. Always use the clean bit. So once you're happy with your roof, I've done the whole roof now. I'm just going to add some of that green we used earlier, and I'm just going to round the chimney pots, put some streaks here and there, let the paint soak in for a little bit, and then just wipe it off. Now there's a little gully this side, so I'll just run it all the way along that side, but we'll just let that soak in for a little bit. Might have gone a little bit overzealous there, but I can always wipe more off because it stays wet quite a while. So it's just, I'll just get a towel again and just lightly blend it in until you're happy with what you've got. Always in a downward motion. Try not to leave too much on. And there's quite a bit there, but I think so that's blended in. Can always take a little bit more off. Yeah, that's better. Not so much on there, just work your way around the whole roof. So let's try that a little bit quicker on this side. So you can barely see the green there. Right, I think that's it. Right, we shall now put it on the building. Well, the roofers have done a really grand job on that, with the lid flashing. Right, so that's the roof's done. It looks as though it's just rained and the tiles are still wet. It's left a nice finish to the slates, I think. But the camera's not doing it justice because it really looks black. The tiles look really black. Right, so this is what it looks like from the other side. See what I mean about them looking really black, but I think that was the effect I was looking for. Although they are grey tiles, but it just looks really dirty. Oh, hello, who we got here? Hello, Mary Poppins. And of course we have Bert as well. And the Brown family. Right, I think that's all from me. I think I'll go and fly a kite. Bye for now. Bye. Chim chimney, chim chimney.